Dalton and Tamara rushed to get married after realizing she was pregnant. They had planned a long engagement to focus on careers, and she had always wanted a big church wedding. However, they decided it was better to get married quickly with a justice of the peace and celebrated with their parents and a few friends. Before we continue, please take some time to subscribe to Dailydose, like, and share this video with your friends. Ultimately, it was better because they got to take a grand vacation for their honeymoon a year later when their daughter Cayenne was a few months old. Dalton thought he and Tamara had a fantastic marriage, and they were proving to everyone how easy it was to be working parents. But things are never as perfect as they seem. "I'm going to bed, I'm beat," Tamara said, rubbing her back and yawning. "It's only 8 p.m. You've been to bed way too early this week. Is there something wrong?" "Are you ill?" Dalton asked, frowning and looking up from his phone to his wife. She shook her head. No, I've just been tired. Work and Cayenne are a little much these days, but I'm fine as long as I get a good night's sleep." "All right. Good night, darling," Dalton nodded. "I love you." "Good night," she responded and went to their bedroom. A few hours later, Dalton finally went to bed, and Tamara snored heavily in her deep sleep. She had always been a night owl, so this was surprising, but he let it go. We're all getting older anyway, he thought as he drifted to. At first, Dalton tried to let it go, but Tamara started getting home later and later. Sometimes, she dashed out of the house too early, leaving Dalton to get Cayenne ready for school. His mother always cared for their girl after school, so they never had to worry much about getting home early. However, Tamara was never like this. Despite being focused on her career and moving up the corporate ladder, she liked being home to make dinner. She loved playing with Cayenne and running around. She used to have time to come to his work events, and was usually the life of the party there, even making his stoic, grumpy boss, Mr. Richardson, laugh heartily. These days, however, she was barely home to put their girl to bed and fall right asleep after. He didn't feel connected to her like he used to, and if he tried to initiate intimacy, he was promptly rejected. "Tamara, I think you need to cut back at work," Dalton suggested one of those late nights before she could go to bed. "You're tired all the time and doing too much. You don't need to do so much. I have a good job now. I've gotten several promotions, and I think you could be a stay-at-home mom." "What?" Tamara asked, shocked. "No way. We talked about this. I don't want to be a stay-at-home mom. Ever. It's not me. I would go crazy." "Are you sure? I just don't see you happy at home lately. My boss loves me, so my job is secure. Please consider cutting your overtime back. Cayenne needs her mom," Dalton suggested gently. Tamara rolled her eyes and crossed her arms, but she sighed after a few seconds of silence. "All right, I'll try to cut back, but this is important to me. My career is just as valid." "All right, I can only ask that you try," Dalton agreed and smiled. She barely grinned and went to bed. She was home earlier the following day and for the next week, but she seemed just as tired. She also cared for their daughter in the morning, so she was trying. Dalton had to acknowledge that, despite still being worried. "I'm going to take a long bath," Tamara told him after dinner one night, so he took care of Cayenne's bedtime as always. However, he was a bit happier because Tamara wasn't so tired and seemed to be finally relaxing. After Cayenne fell asleep, Dalton went to their bedroom, noting that his wife was still in the bathroom, but her phone rang. He almost answered, but it went to voicemail. Despite his better judgment, Dalton got curious. He had never done this before, but wanted to see if her boss or someone was overworking her. He knew her passwords and put the phone to his ear to hear the message. "Honey, you forgot your bra," a familiar male voice said. This person suggested meeting again later that week and hung up. Dalton didn't know exactly who it was, but recognized the voice somehow. Where? Who? What? He thought desperately, and then realized he was focused on the wrong thing. He was worried about the man and not the bigger picture. "She's cheating on me and leaving bras all over the city," Dalton thought, shocked, as the door to their bathroom opened and Tamara came out as a puff of steam followed her out. "Tamara, what is this?" he asked, his voice intense but shaky. "What? My phone?" Tamara wondered, frowning. A man, left you a message saying you forgot your bra. Who was it?" Dalton asked, his eyes widening as his fingers held the phone tightly in the air. Tamara's own eyes widened as well, but she rolled her eyes. "That was my masseuse. You said I needed to relax, and I started making appointments at the spa, okay?" she said, shrugging and snatching the phone from his hand. "Are you lying to me?" Dalton continued, just as angry. The explanation was not enough for him. "No! God! I don't even have time to cheat!" Tamara yelled, losing her temper. "I thought we trusted each other not to go through our phones. Are you cheating on me and projecting?" "What? No, don't turn this around," Dalton said, surprised. "Well, let me see your phone," Tamara suggested, her hand making the gimme gesture. "Okay, I'm sorry about going through your phone, but why did you get a male masseuse?" Dalton sighed, trying to calm down. Tamara laughed. "Oh, trust me, he is not interested in women," she said, grinning. Dalton breathed deeply, somewhat relieved. "All right, you can check my phone if you want," he said, grabbing it from his pocket and offering it. "No, I trust you," Tamara said, smiling. "Sorry the message freaked you. We should try to talk more often." "Yeah," Dalton agreed. But they didn't talk the rest of that night. The vibe in their home was strange, distant, something he hadn't felt before hearing the message. He also couldn't tell why the voice sounded so familiar if he had never met the masseuse. After a few days of mulling over it, Dalton contacted a private investigator. He wanted to find out if Tamara was telling the truth or if she was cheating. If so, he needed evidence to take her to court and keep Kyan. A few weeks passed, with barely any change at home and no word from the PI, but Dalton finally received a call at work. "Your wife goes to the spa every afternoon at 5 p.m. on the dot, stays there for about 2 hours and goes home," the investigator said. "Can you confirm there's a male masseuse?" Dalton wondered. "Yeah, several," the investigator said. "Your wife seems to be telling the truth." "What about the mornings?" Dalton continued. "Drops your daughter off and goes right to her office. I've checked. She only sometimes stops by the Starbucks near the building," he continued, and Dalton sighed. "Thank you," he told the PI and finished their contract. But despite those assurances, Dalton felt like something was missing, something on the tip of his tongue that could solve this entire situation. Tamara was acting strange, and he wanted to know why. Back at home, Tamara had arrived earlier than he, and Dalton felt like he might be getting paranoid. Kyan was in her room playing, and his wife smiled as she cooked. "I wanted to talk to you about something," she started as he removed his tie. "Sure," Dalton nodded. "My birthday is in 2 days, remember?" "Of course. I was wondering if I could have a day alone at home. Completely alone," Tamara said, wringing her fingers. "Oh, I realize I haven't been able to regroup in years. It's like I've been running and running since we got pregnant. I don't even read anymore," Tamara continued. "So, I wanted a day to be fully at home alone to do nothing. What do you say?" Dalton thought about it. "Are you sure that's all you want?" "Yes, please." She put her hands together and pouted cutely. "All right," Dalton answered. "Thank you." Dalton should have been happy that his wife wanted a relaxing day, but he wasn't. This request was odd. She liked being around people on birthdays. She enjoyed hoopla and merriment and being the center of attention. It was her. Reading and spending a dull day at home was so out of character that it only made him more suspicious. So, he planned something different. "Okay, everyone, thank you for being so discreet. I'm going to open the door, and we're all going to run inside and yell, 'Surprise!' Clear?" Dalton whispered to all the guests he had gathered outside his house. Instead of following her request, he planned a surprise party with her family, friends, and his parents. Kyan was excited to surprise her mommy. If Tamara has nothing to hide, she'll be pleased, he thought, placing the key on the door front and forcing it open. He let other people go in first, leaving his daughter last. He heard the cheerful surprise chorus from all the invitees, but there was a distinct yell of shock and rustling. Finally, he went inside. 2 people were on his couch in various states of undress, but rushing to put their clothes on. Luckily, everyone was decent by the time Kyan came in and screamed her own, "Surprise, Mommy!" Tamara's eyes were shocked, fearful, outraged, and distraught at the same time as their daughter came to hug her with a big gift in her hands. She tried to fix her hair and tend to their daughter. The rest of the room was silent, and Dalton thought he would feel victorious. Would it be an aha moment? Would he gloat about finally uncovering her secret affair? But he couldn't do that because he finally knew why the man on the voicemail sounded so familiar. It was his boss. "Mr. Richardson," Dalton said, deadpanned, and stared at the man who awkwardly grabbed his things and exited his home. Suddenly, the whole house erupted. Dalton's mother took Kyan away as Tamara ran to her room to hide from her parents, who were yelling and scolding her. He went directly to the fridge and grabbed a cold drink. Her friends slowly left, and he finally told her parents to go. Tamara didn't come out of their room for a while, but he waited patiently on the same couch they had defiled when she did. "Dalton, I'm so sorry," she began, one arm holding the other. "Save it! Why my boss Tamara?" he asked, not wanting any excuses. He only wanted to know why she had decided to get with his boss, a man twice as old as they were. I don't have any excuse. He was rich and successful, and it just happened. Tamara stumbled through her words. "So there was no overtime at work or a masseuse?" he continued, still deathly calm. "There was a masseuse, but it was after the voice message. I wanted to cover my tracks," she answered, pursing her lips. "Well, you've always been smart. That's what I loved about you." He nodded and heaved as he stood. "I want a divorce. I want full custody of Cayenne and this house. I think I deserve that." "Oh, I hope you didn't think Mr. Richardson would somehow leave his wife for you, right? His wife's family owns the company. He's only successful because they put him in charge. They can easily fire him." Tamara's face paled even more than when she was caught. "Ah, I see that was your goal. Sorry, but if he leaves his wife, he'll be ruined," he continued. Tamara didn't say anything as he left, closing the door quietly. Things progressed quickly after that. Their entire family and friends had seen her affair. Tamara moved out of the house and didn't fight for anything, not even alimony. Dalton didn't say a word at work either, but he eventually moved to another company that offered him a better salary. As far as he knew, Mr. Richardson ended the affair right then, fearing his wife would find out. At court, he agreed for Tamara to have Cayenne on the weekends. He was not going to deprive his daughter of her mother. That wouldn't be right. His only regret was that Cayenne somewhat saw what happened, but luckily, she didn't get it. Hopefully, she would never truly know. It took them years, but he and Tamara could eventually co-parent Cayenne amicably. Dalton finally found love again, and he never ignored his instincts again.